If an altcoin season rally begins and Crocoin capitalizes on the opportunity for this massive altcoin surge, going back to its previous highs versus Bitcoin, CRO versus its Bitcoin pairing, you're looking at almost a 20x gain potential. That's versus Bitcoin. That is not even acknowledging the actual X potential versus the dollar versus its USD pair. And I want to do that for you guys in this video because as we have gotten a little bit skeptical in the short term about potential lower levels for Bitcoin, there was accumulation opportunities for altcoins. And if you have bought those dips, you would be celebrating some pretty tremendous gains on a variety of coins. Crocoin's just starting to turn up. It has not had its glorious moment that everybody's been waiting for in this bull market, but I do think that could be coming soon. And there are some certain metrics. I want to compare Solana to Crow in this video to look at some key metrics to maybe understand why Crocoin has been lagging versus a Solana or some of the others out there, but also why I believe that Crocoin could kind of have a catch-up period. Not to say that CRO or the Cronos network is going to be bigger than Solana one day. I think that might be too optimistic to come out and say at this point. But I do think that it is going to be a top performing network out there that is associated with the Cronos utility token, the CRO coin, that proves to provide a lot of gains potentially in this bull market ahead, guys. Welcome back to the Crypto Report, everybody. I'm Crypto Kip. I want to show you guys something. Look at the possibility of Crocoin. Right now, this is Crow versus BTC. If Crow was to go from where it's at right now today to its previous highs that it's been able to achieve versus Bitcoin back in November of 2021, the peak of the last bull market, that is a 18x from here. That's about a 1700% gain. That is an 18x from here. Now that's really big, guys. That's really big. That's almost a 20x potential. Now, if Crocoin was to 20x from here, boom, a $2 Dogecoin, or excuse me, a $2 Crocoin. But this 17% or 1700% gain, this 18x potential, is Crow versus Bitcoin. That's not even Crow versus the dollar. Okay, so if Crow was to just 18x versus the dollar, you get up to $2. But looking at an 18x move for Crow versus Bitcoin doesn't mean that Bitcoin stands still. Let's just pretend conservatively Bitcoin goes up 2x from here. I think that's conservative personally. I think that's a reasonable possibility. Maybe it just goes up 50%, okay? Well, if it goes up 50%, then Crocoin is going to outperform that 50% gain by almost 20x. Crocoin could go a lot higher than $2 if it is able to kind of get back to its previous highs versus Bitcoin. Now, there's no guarantees there, but still there is tremendous upside potential for Crow, especially when you look at its BTC pairing. Even if it just gets back to where it was not too long ago, back in November, it's like almost a 3x to there. A 3x outperforming Bitcoin ahead would be incredible. What if you could outperform Bitcoin by 3x? That's the whole point of altcoins. I think that's why people buy altcoins, because they want to outperform Bitcoin, and Crow does have that potential. But we do need to look at the reality of the situation. And by the way, if you guys want to do some trading, you can trade Crow, you can trade Bitcoin, you can trade all your favorite coins on Blowfin if you want to check that out. Crypto.com is a very successful company, and they fulfill their promises, guys. Look at all these little green check marks on their roadmap. So many plans, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 ahead. We've got Cronos 1. We've got Cronos ETF submissions coming later this year. Some people are talking about this type of super cycle potential. The Cronos ETF submission coming right at what should be the peak of the bull market. But if we go into this extended cycle, you know, maybe Cronos has just an insane amount of upside. You need the Cronos ecosystem to do well, though. And I think that as Crypto.com has been onboarding people with bringing people in to trade stocks and ETFs on their platform, sports contract trading, bringing in banking services, yield on cash coming very soon, international bank accounts, all these different things. They got credit cards coming. This is going to bring more people to know Crypto.com, the Crypto.com brand, and Crypto.com is very good at marketing. They're trying to reach the next billion users, and they've got a lot of partners to do it, like F1 Racing, UFC, Formula One, AFL, 76ers, LA Kings, so many different things, guys. They were the sponsor of the World Cup at one point in time. If they continue to push the Cronos narrative, there's room for growth there. But you do need growth, because here's the stark reality of the situation for CRO and Cronos. Over the last 24 hours, there has only been 43,000 transactions on the Cronos network. That sounds like a lot, but it's really not. Look at Solana, and you will see the total transactions on Solana were 379 million transactions. That is a lot more transactions, guys. I'm not doing the math on that right now. It's well over 10x. It's probably 100x over. I'm not doing that math right now. But you can see 379,000 transactions versus only 43,000 transactions. It kind of makes Cronos look like a joke, but it's not. And I don't believe that it is. Have you ever used the chain? If you haven't used the chain and you're interested in the Cronos token, well, I recommend you look at the chain, use the chain, test the chain, because if you don't like the chain, well, then why would you like the token? But I do like the chain. I just don't like that there's not a lot of transactions. The downside to not having transactions is exactly this that I want to share with you guys. Looking at all the top chains, Ethereum, Solana are number 1 and number 2. There was $1.5 million in 24-hour chain fees. Developers that are incentivized to build on a network, why would a developer be incentivized to build on a network if they weren't standing to gain some potential benefit? What's the benefit as a dev to build on a chain? Well, potentially making a successful product that you can earn some fees on. And yesterday there was $1.5 million worth of fees to go around at a point where crypto's not even as hot as it was at one point. Oh man, I bet you we were over $5 million in 24-hour chain fees at the peak of Solana earlier in the last few years. Compare the $1.5 million in 24-hour chain fees for Solana to Cronos. Cronos only had $6,000 in fees, which again is way low compared to Solana. Well, this isn't a very bullish picture you're painting for us, Crypto Kit. Well, here's my point. Solana's been around for a while. Solana was around during the peak of the last bull cycle. The chain was hot. NFTs were being traded in the bear market, and it was very popular even in the bear market for Solana because it had such a great bull market last cycle, and so many people got onboarded into DeFi last cycle. Cronos just came out literally when the bubble popped in 2021 for crypto. That was when the Cronos chain launched. So, of course, it didn't have any opportunity to get mass onboarding and mass development happening on the chain, and there's not mass activity going on in it because we haven't had that super cycle part of the, well, I shouldn't say the word, I don't like the word super cycle, the massive part of the bull cycle where we have altcoins start outperforming Bitcoin, which I think we're waiting for, and we're really DeFi, and if you look at the overall overview for DeFi in crypto overall, you'll see DeFi hasn't even taken its previous highs out. Total market cap has, Bitcoin has, not all the altcoins have, and DeFi certainly hasn't. My prediction is that when DeFi starts to break through into new all-time highs, that the chain fees and transactions on Cronos and the developer activity on Cronos, it's going to continue to increase because Crypto.com ain't playing around. They're onboarding more users. They're adding more projects. They're fulfilling their promises. And the Cronos chain, I've used it. I like it a lot. It's easy to use. Unfortunately, it's not a very active chain at this point, but that doesn't mean that it can't be in the future. At one point, Solana was a new chain, and it had to get adoption. I think that Cronos has that chance, especially since it's tied to the Crypto.com company, and that's my honest belief. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not here to give financial advice, but I am bullish on CRO, and I think it can hold around the 10-cent level here for a little while. If Bitcoin keeps roaring to new highs, I wouldn't be surprised to see Cronos quickly getting up to 20, 30, or 40 cents in a hurry. If an altcoin season triggers, I think we're going to be at $1 faster than people would be willing to believe. Personally, that's my thought. I still do think that a $2 CRO is on the table in this bull market because we just looked at it. If it 20x's versus Bitcoin, there's no guarantees it goes to those highs versus Bitcoin. There you go. You've got more than $2 coming up. Conservatively, though, I think $1 is a slam dunk, and I think we could talk about $2 and maybe even higher. Let's just keep an eye on this bull market, how it's going, how the news is breaking. Let's get tariffs behind us. Let's get a rate cut. Let's get an altcoin season. And let's rally, people. Again, not financial advice. I am bullish on CRO. I've been bullish on it for a very long time, and nothing about that's changed. I've had a very consistent philosophy in understanding DeFi and understanding the activity that's going on in DeFi and knowing that it's not over to the fat lady sings for the Cronos chain, and this thing is just getting started for the first time in this cycle. Smash a like, subscribe to the channel, DCA HODL. Of course, my friends, I'll see you in the next one. I got 2 videos for you right here if you want to check them out. Peace, guys.